Better Fucking Golf. How I went from hacker to club champ without changing my swing or expensive lessons. Written by Paul Nardozzi. Narrated by Derek Daisy. Chapter 1. The fucking intro. All right, well, I got you to buy my book. It's probably because of the fucking title, but hey, how else is an amateur golfer going to sell golf books? What I've noticed over the years is that learning golf from golf professionals is not realistic. They're so deep into their own learning curve that they've forgotten what it was like when they first started off. Mostly because they were so young when they learned the game. They take for granted what feels natural for them, and for us hackers, feels completely unnatural. It's kind of like your attractive and funny friend trying to relate to you about how hard it is to pick up girls at the bar. They're trying their best, but the reality is they have no fucking clue what it's really like to be ugly and boring like friends of mine. Definitely not me. This book will really add value to your golf game because I went through the transition of hacker to scratch entirely in my adult years. I have a clear understanding of what the average golfer is thinking and feeling. Golf professionals honestly can't relate, and therefore the instruction you get from them isn't nearly as helpful. I'm going to start this book off with 2 words that will validate everything I'm about to tell you. Jim Furyk. Alright, well, that's sort of a joke, but not really. And here's why. From one of the top personalities in golf today, David Feherty describes Furyk's swing as it looks like an octopus falling out of a tree. Feherty's humor adds a great twist to the game of golf. But aside from this assessment being hilarious, it's seriously thought-provoking. Jim is the epitome of throwing traditional swing mechanics out of the window and utilizing what feels comfortable and reproducible. I eventually got to this point while watching the Golf Channel for endless hours in YouTube swing videos until I couldn't keep my fucking eyes open. If you're reading this book, I bet you've been there before too. But in all seriousness, if Jim can take a swing out of a Dr. Seuss book and win major championships, why in the hell can't I take my current swing and become just a scratch golfer? That's when I started to research and experiment with things outside of the actual swing to make my game more consistent. I wasn't looking to make it on tour. Well, maybe it was a shitty pipe dream, but there had to be something more to this. It can't be that only people with perfect swing mechanics can play good fucking golf. I started to look at other so-called no-name tour pros' swings on YouTube. I slowly began to realize that everyone has a different swing and different style, yet produce similar outcomes in the actual shot. I then focused my efforts on understanding what they all did that was the same. If they didn't all swing the same, then what were they doing that was the same? Ultimately, I concluded that there are 5 essential aspects of the game that all the pros do exceptionally well. Aim in proper alignment, head stability, follow-through, swing tempo, and descending ball contact. After years of trial and error, I finally narrowed down some techniques that consistently help replicate those 5 things. First though, let's talk about the shit you definitely will not read about in this book. My least favorite golf advice that we have all heard at least once. Change your grip. Let's be honest for a second. Have you ever actually tried changing your fucking grip? I mean, if you're looking to spend a lot of time and money on a Sunday morning in misery and mother effing yourself, go for a grip change. Wouldn't it just be easier to finally get around to building that patio furniture your wife has been nagging you about for months? These lessons are easier than changing your swing mechanics too. I bet there's been a time, or hundreds of times in my case, where you've tried a new move on the range and you think you've got it all figured out. When it's time to hit the course, you give up on it after the 3rd hole. I did all the embarrassing and frustrating chunking, so you don't have to. 15 fucking years of it to be exact. Before you get your panties in a bunch when I say it took me 15 years, just know that it took me that long for a couple of reasons. For starters, when I first started, I was broke as shit. Spending thousands on swing lessons was not a thing for me. Then throw in a wife and 3 small kids in the second half of those 15 years, and it didn't leave me with much time to play. Also broke again. So, the only option for me was to figure it out on my own, and that meant a shit ton of experimenting. Hell, I even played an entire season swinging with one arm. That's how committed I was to finding ways to play better golf. Lucky for you, I decided to put myself out there and write this book. Hopefully, I can spare someone else their sanity on the course. You're fucking welcome. Oh, and by the way, for all you English majors out there, I will give you a preemptive fuck off. I know I'm a shitty writer. Let's just try to focus on the content and not the delivery. Cool? In full transparency, this book will not likely propel you to a PGA Tour type of game, but it will help you reproducibly return the club to the same position you start your swing. If you ask me, that's really the name of the game. Whatever happens from when you take the club away until contact doesn't really matter. We will accomplish this without all the confusing and complicated swing instructions you would get from a teaching professional or a golf magazine. Trying to replicate the swing of a touring pro is a recipe for disaster. Trust me, I've tried it, and lost a few golf seasons trying to look like Tiger Woods on the course. This is usually what every golf magazine is selling you as well. Look at what insert everyone's favorite fucking PGA Tour golfer of the month is doing, and this is how he does it. Let's not fucking mention he's been training all day, every day since he was 7, but hey, weekend golfer, buy a subscription from us and you can have a swing just like his. If you aren't a single-digit handicap already, and honestly, even if you are, it likely will lead to frustration and you reverting to your old swing pretty fucking quickly. Early on, I took 3 lessons, and that was all I needed to understand what the hell was actually happening. Swing coaches want to keep you coming back week after week. Look, I get it. They're trying to put food on the table just like the rest of us. So what do? They focus on adjusting your grip and changing the way you pull back your club. And why do they focus on these 2 things? Because it feels uncomfortable, and it takes many lessons before you start to even develop a feel for it. If you're one of the lucky 5% to get past these 2 major fixes, then it's on to the downswing, which will likely keep you in the fucking rabbit hole for months. My grip sucks, and my swing sure as hell ain't pretty. But I found a way to become a scratch golfer, and I think I have some ways to help other people do that too. I could go on and on about golf instructors and their tactics to keep customers coming back, but that would probably require a whole other book. I will say there are plenty of good instructors out there that actually want to help you get better. They tend to be at private country clubs, and they charge rates way out of my comfort zone and out of the comfort zone of a large majority of golfers. The teaching pro at my current golf club is one of the best in the business. He is outstanding at what he does and is someone I really respect. Hey, if you can afford it, this route might work for you. But for most of us, we just want to play better fucking golf and not be frustrated the entire time we're on the course. The following statement is the basis for my entire golf game and everything in this book. Variability causes inconsistent results. Reducing the variables in your approach and swing increases consistency, and therefore, success. That's a fucking loaded statement. I get it. So let's break that down. By definition, variability is the lack of a fixed pattern, or a liability to vary or change. We are essentially focusing on specific actions within the golf swing and approach that change from swing to swing. For example, someone may line up to the right of the target on one swing, and the left of the target on the next. With 2 identical swings, you will produce 2 entirely different shots. Another example is someone who moves their head backward during a backswing. On one swing, they return their head to the starting position correctly, and on another swing, they can't, and it lags behind. Again, assuming the same swing, these will produce 2 entirely different shots. The actual golf swing is probably the hardest thing to change and control. That's why a majority of PGA Tour pros have been getting swing instruction since they learned to walk and continuously need to fine-tune their swing weekly. That's why this book focuses on the more important things within the approach to essentially make the actual swing irrelevant. Thanks, Furyk. If we can control everything else, and therefore reduce the number of variables in our swing from, say, 6 things to 1 thing, you will see massive improvement. I will share with you the most common variables in an amateur golfer's game, along with the ones I dealt with myself, and how to ultimately remove those variables. Hopefully, the lessons I have learned over the past 15 years can translate into your game a lot fucking faster than it did for me.